Welcome again. We get to have two more candidates with us today. They are for Ward 2, and I have two lovely ladies, Amy Camarata and Cami Engles. And we're going to get things started off. Amy, if you don't mind, how about an opening statement?
Yeah, my name is Amy Camarata. I reside at the Shawnee Twin Lakes, and a lot of people know me because of my involvement in the Shawnee Twin Lake Advisory Committee or commission meetings in regards to the Shawnee Twin Lakes. And I would say that process led me to recognize that maybe there is a lapse in communication or partnership between citizens and the city of Shawnee. And I'm a big believer that if you want to see change or if you want something better for your community, that it starts with you. And so here I am now. I am running for the Ward 2 Commission seat. I'm an advocate for citizen involvement and partnership. I am for strengthening and stabilizing our infrastructure. I am for sustainable growth and revenue growth. And of course, because I am a resident at the Shawnee Twin Lakes, I am an advocate for the Shawnee Twin Lakes. I may not have all the answers. I know there's a wealth of knowledge and people who have a lot of history in the city of Shawnee, and I respect that. So again, I don't have all the answers, but I am willing to bring people to the table and to find the answers and for us to find solutions together to formulate a plan of action. And that's why I asked for your vote on June 28th.
Thank you very much, Amy. Very well said. And now I get to introduce Cami Engles. Cami, could you give us your opening statement, please?
Hello, I am Cami Engles, current Ward 2 City Commissioner. I was appointed. I've been serving to fill a vacancy since October. Since then, I've really enjoyed my time on the commission and gotten to be a part of a lot of, I think, really exciting things, whether it was the Lake Advisory Committee or most recently a collaboration with the Historical Society involving the depot. I've been a part of quite a few talks about economic development and exciting things that we can bring to the town, hoping to move us forward a little bit. I am a local business owner. I own Theopolis Social Club, which is a restaurant in downtown Shawnee. I opened that restaurant to serve as a flagship of economic development in our downtown area, and I'm committed to that process. I've since been able to advocate for that area in particular, but also for the lake, which is also a part of my ward, and I am really excited about some of the things that we would be able to do out at Shawnee Twin Lakes to make them more enjoyable for all of our citizens and protect the properties that the lake residents have put so much time and energy into as well. I'm running because I really believe in putting my money where my mouth is, so to speak. And instead of complaining, I've always, wanted to get involved and do the best that I can to make a difference and impact my community in a positive way. So I'm hoping to work to represent all of the citizens of my ward from Broadway to Shawnee Twin Lakes and work in partnership to move us forward as a community.
Thank you very much, Cami. Thoughtful answer. How about we talk a little bit about downtown, transportation, housing, revenues, infrastructure challenges, and opportunities. We've got a lot to cover. Here we go. First question, and I'm going to go to Cami first. We recently lost a wonderful, visible, energetic, high retail dollar investor in our Main Street district because of requirements imposed when he tried to make facade improvements to his already well-improved downtown property. Unfortunately, this has been a repeated occurrence I've witnessed as a longtime Shawnee resident. Are you, as a commissioner, serious about getting our Main Street corridor thriving again? Yes or no? And if yes, what is your commitment to the voters in making downtown a thriving district? Cami Engles.
I'm certainly committed to that, and I think that my history would prove that. I am actively involved in downtown. I own a business there. I own properties downtown. I have actively worked to improve properties in our downtown area and recruit other business owners to come into the downtown area because I want the more the merrier. I understand the frustrations that people have whenever they, in particular, buy an old building because it's a lot easier to build new than renovate sometimes. That issue in particular, I think, could be solved with some of the movements forward with our unified development codes, so that we can be a little bit more, we can be easier to work with when someone's trying to put a lot of money into developing a property in downtown. We need a cohesive, easy to understand plan that each inspector can communicate clearly, so that it's not such a hindrance to do those projects in our downtown area. I'm also committed to decreasing the crime. Even this week, I actually experienced a couple of break-ins in my own restaurant, which was devastating. And I sympathize with all of my downtown business owners in that regard. But we were able to work together, pull a bunch of video and camera footage, and work with the Shawnee PD. And they actually arrested one of the vandals in downtown that had been terrorizing multiple business owners. And then I pushed for a just increased patrol down there this weekend, and the police were actually able to arrest 11 more people in our downtown area that had warrants out for their arrest. So revitalizing downtown is a multi-tiered process that I'm committed to in a lot of ways.
Thank you very much. Amy Camarata, I'll repeat the question for you, Amy. Are you, as a commissioner, serious about getting our Main Street corridor thriving again? Yes or no? And if yes, what is your commitment to the voters in making downtown a thriving district? Amy Camarata.
Thanks. I think that Cami covered a lot of the primary issues with downtown. You know, downtown America is an issue everywhere in America. We're not alone in this. The trajectory of downtowns are changing. There's some easy things that everybody sees and recognizes. We need wayfinding. We have a homeless population in that area. It is the highest crime area within Shawnee, is that area of downtown. We have some absentee ownership. So we have these beautiful buildings that are not being utilized. At the same time, they're costly, as Cami mentioned. So it is easy to point out the areas where we struggle, and finding solutions is something that every city is struggling to find. I think the first thing is, as Cami said, all the businesses pulled together with her situation. We have a group of leaders and experts in downtown who know that better than anyone else. And we need to continue to pull them together to find what works. I can't tell Cami, I don't have a business downtown. I can't tell Cami, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I can't tell Cami how to make her business successful, but I can help facilitate. I can help us find ways, like she said, to simplify code or simplify methods to make it easier on them. But let's let the business owners who are the experts tell us what they need to make it successful. And then let's come together and do that. And then the second thing, which Cami also mentioned, is economic development. We need to focus on economic development downtown. I think to make it more economically appealing for people who are going to bring their money to invest in that area, we definitely have to address the crime and homelessness too. But you know, it's a beautiful area. It has great, beautiful structures. It can certainly be capitalized on. And I think we have great experts in the area who can take us there.
Thank you very much. I would like you to address the transportation issue our community faces. Without a vehicle, Shawnee is a very tough space to navigate for steady employment, for healthy, inexpensive family activities, and families whose children would benefit from walking or riding their bikes to school, whether it be elementary, middle school, high school, or college. Discuss your knowledge of our community's transportation challenges, and please give a full description of your commitment level in making transportation without a motorized vehicle easier to navigate for employment, education, and healthy employment. Healthy enjoyment. I'm sorry, Amy. Amy, you'll come up first. That's Amy Camarata.
Thank you. And Benson, my dog, is chiming in on this conversation, it sounds like. So first I'd say that sidewalks are kind of a no-brainer. Sidewalks are a safe method of transportation by foot. They're appeasing to the eye. Everybody likes sidewalks. They're obviously a great, easy solution. When it comes to public transportation, I think it's a little bit more of a sticky subject. Public transportation is subsidized by some government entity, be that our city government, our county government, or our state government. If you look at like the Oklahoma City streetcar in Oklahoma City, and I realize we're not Oklahoma City, but that streetcar costs the city of Oklahoma City $400,000 a month. If you've partaked, and Cami, who sits on the commission, can tell you, the city manager has repeated over and over that Shawnee does not have enough revenue to support its infrastructure. And so as we look to add additional transportation, it's not to say that it's not needed. It may very well be needed, but we definitely have to find the funding. And so before we go down that road of offering a public transportation service, I think we need to do some real soul searching on how we can find that financially. And then in the interim, while we're doing that, I also think that transportation is changing in the population. I think that there are more rideshare programs available, that we can emphasize rideshare programs within the city. Maybe we can subsidize rideshare programs within the city. Maybe we can look for federal grant dollars or find additional partnerships like CPN or the Central Oklahoma Transit Authority, or other places. But I think while public transportation is a need, I think it can be a very costly expense to the city that we need to be careful we don't bite off more than we can chew when we have a lot of really big infrastructure things that we need to focus on as well.
Thank you, Amy. Cami, I will read the question again for you. Please discuss your knowledge of our community's transportation challenges, and please give a full description of your commitment level in making transportation without a motorized vehicle easier to navigate for employment, education, and healthy enjoyment. Cami Engles.
I realize that we definitely have a transportation need here. And one of the things that brought that home for me recently was when I decided to drop a vehicle off to get a tire changed. And it wasn't that far from my house, so I thought I'll just walk back to my house. I mean, it was probably a mile or so. And I had to walk before the Independence sidewalk was put in, but I had to walk like down Federal with no sidewalks, then to Harrison, across the street, and then on Harrison, there's not a sidewalk. So even just within a mile and a half, it was really difficult to on foot travel in a safe way. So sidewalks are a really obvious, immediate need that I think we can fund in certain ways. And we have some of those sidewalk projects coming down the pipeline, as we all know. As far as motorized situations, we have a couple of independent van companies that work within our community, and some of them take residents to doctor's appointments and things like that. I think that they're maxed out, and there is some money with the infrastructure bill, the federal infrastructure transportation bill, that we can tap into because of the van transportation that's already existing. We have more data and information than most cities our size because we've already gone through the process of some maybe just some, what am I trying to say? Example routes. I couldn't think of the word example. We have some example routes that we can put down in our applications for those federal dollars and the grants. Yes, they are an expensive mode of transportation. I think that we can start with a van system to meet the immediate needs, especially for some of our manufacturers are expressing a need for their employees in particular to have a mode of transportation. And I think sometimes when we live in households, when everybody has their own car, every adult has a car, we're thinking, about transportation needs just being maybe senior citizens that can't drive or people that don't have a car at all. But in actuality, what we're hearing from our manufacturers is we have a lot of people that just have a single car home, and they have to share that to get to and from work or take their kids to school or whatnot. But I think that we could start with a increase van system, work with the companies who are already here, work in partnership with the tribes as well to expand. And I know that some of our manufacturers in particular that would be outside of routes have already agreed that need is so strong that they might even be willing to partner with some of the stops, for example. And then we could run those routes for a little while, the example routes, really tight routes. And then once we secure that additional funding and have basically something to show for ourselves when we go negotiate for these things, we can at that point determine if we need to add a couple bus routes, for example. But I think we have a need as far as even OBU students. Some of the students don't have their own vehicle. Some of the international students now they have some scooters to get from, but that doesn't help you very much in a thunderstorm. So I think that we could do it in a kind of a multi-tiered process to get us there, to not blow too much money all up front and then say not need a bunch of buses.
Very good. Thank you very much. And if it's thunder, I can't do it, but it's sometimes fun to be on scooters just out in the rain. I'm not going to class, but according to the 2020 census, our community sits around 54% home ownership. The national average is 62%. That represents about 1,000 home gap that we would need to fill with new homeowners who are existing renters, leasers, etc., just to become average in our home ownership ratio. Rent pricing in our community is through the roof in terms of value return for costs. People are renting in horrendous conditions. Generally speaking, what do you think is the mental differences between a homeowner family dynamic as compared to a family which owns its own home? And how does home ownership rates affect a community? And that question we will start with Cami Engles, please.
I think this is such a complex tiered issue. So Shawnee also has a lower than average median income, and home ownership is tied to a person's ability to simply qualify for a loan. Luckily, in most cases, there are some new programs that assist first-time home buyers, but in Shawnee and a lot of places around the nation, we are experiencing a home shortage. So even if that person were to qualify for one of those first-time home buyer loans, and some of those programs are amazing, we simply do not have the houses. So there are a few kind of common sense things I think that we could do to allow for quality homes to be built and then quality homes to be renovated. I'm going to harp on this, the unified codes being completed, and we think that's going to take about 2 years. But I currently do not think that we're an attractive city for developers and builders because our codes are kind of all over the place, and it puts our inspectors in a weird position. And so often, you've seen it on Facebook, often developers complain about the process of building here or renovating here. So first, we can streamline some of those processes to make us competitive with other cities. Not to do anything unsafe, but just to make us an attractive place to invest. Because if we can make all of those codes streamlined, the property is cheap here. And we have a housing shortage, it'd be easy to get developers to do more things here. The second thing, besides just, building a new home or renovating, we have some opportunity to kind of play with our lot sizes. So currently, as some of our codes read, a single family home has to be on a lot of a certain size. Well, we have an opportunity to cut down some of those lot sizes to get more housing in certain areas that we deem appropriate for smaller houses. So for that entry level renter, so say 1,000 square foot house, we have plenty of those all over the city. But if you're building those new, a lot of the times you're not able to build a small house on a small lot. Or, for example, go into one of our opportunity zones and buy a house that no one's lived in for 45 years and it's a tear down, and split that lot and put 2 cute new nice houses there. Developers can't do that. And also people looking to purchase their own home and build for themselves out from the beginning can't do that. So I think making our codes and our processes more obtainable for the first time buyer is really important in allowing for more home ownership, which in turn allows for our citizens to build more wealth, and that's what we're wanting here.
Very good. Thank you very much. Amy, you are up. Generally speaking, what do you think is the mental differences between a home owner family dynamic as compared to a family which owns its home? And how does home ownership rates affect a community? Amy Camarata.
Thank you. Everything Cami said is 100% correct. What I do professionally is I am a developer of micro communities of homes for 55 and over, and I work in partnership with construction companies to develop those communities. And so development is something I'm very intimately involved in, and homeownership values is something that I pay particularly close attention to. So when Cami says this is a very complex issue, it is. It's both a complex issue on a national level and it's a complex issue for the city of Shawnee. So I may go over my 60 seconds here, Daniel, but give me a few minutes. Hopefully not a few minutes, but if you look at the national level, December, January, our mortgage interest rates were 2.8 to 3%. 6 months later, here we are, we're at 6%. So that's one challenge. Then since the pandemic and the housing surge, we've had an increased number of buyers, low number of homes on the market, as Cami mentioned. We also have the problem that construction companies are having, which is the higher cost to build and the shortage of supplies. So that's kind of the national issue that everybody is facing. But if you look at Shawnee, Shawnee independently has its own set of complex issues. Income qualified buyers. Cami mentioned just briefly the first time buyers program. That's actually the federal first time buyers program is no longer available, but it is possible, of course, to have city or state programs available. We have a lower household income, median income in Shawnee. It is 21% below the average for the state, not national, but just for the state, we are 20% below on the median household income. We used to have 3 higher education programs within the city of Shawnee, but those students aren't necessarily staying. We have a lower than average higher education population within the city of Shawnee as well. We're at like 23%, where the state is 32%. And then the other thing, which is very tied into homeownership value, is crime. And I hate to say this because it's an embarrassment for Shawnee. And, it's like if you say it, it just gives it power. But the truth is that 3 years ago, the city of Shawnee was rated as the least safe city in the state of Oklahoma. And we may not like saying it because we're certainly not proud of that, but we have to say it and we have to address it. 1.2 people in 100 in Shawnee are victims of violent crime, and 4.5 people in 100 are victims of property crime. And as Cami mentioned, she herself was a victim this week. So property crime is incredibly high. It is double the national average and almost double the average for the state of Oklahoma. So crime has to be addressed in order for us to bring the value of those homes. And that is what attracts developers, okay? Developers want to go out and build something, not because it's going to cost them money, but so that they can at least make some money. So in order for it to be an attractive model, they have to have something that's going to at least pay for itself and give them some money back for their investment. So solutions wise, one, we have to get police and fire adequately funded. If anybody watched the budget meeting, I'm sure we'll talk about this in another question. The police personnel costs were minimized by $300,000 versus last year. We all know that we have a fire department that has been closed. Those programs have not grown, and they need to grow, and we have got to get a handle on crime. So that's one thing that I think we really need to focus on. And then we need to partner with our education programs. We have these opportunities for higher education, and we need to encourage them to take those students who are leaving to go elsewhere for jobs, to bring them into jobs in Shawnee that will be sustainable jobs for a family, so that they can purchase homes and live and grow their families here within Shawnee. And then I just like to back up what Cami said earlier. We need unified code. We need an easier process. On Monday night in the commission meeting, there was the person who had a home that was going to be condemned. The process for her to file the building permit is not something that is easy for every single person to do. And maybe there are some opportunities there for us to streamline that process and make it easier so that people can do the things they need to do to improve their homes.
Thank
Thank
you
you for the extra time.
No, thank you very much. The answer was wonderful. And we have infrastructure issues. We'll move on. We have infrastructure issues in our community. Amy, this is going to come to you first. According to your own study, what are the two most pressing infrastructure problems the city faces? What is the current staff action plan which addresses the problems, and how is it being paid for?
Did we skip budget?
Yes, I went right over budget because I don't like that question on how vague it is. Is there something in particular you would like to talk about on the budget?
No, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't losing track.
I went right over that one. Cami, is there something you would like to talk about on the budget?
Not necessarily. I think since it's posted online and
okay,
yeah, for people's reference too.
Okay, perfect. Amy, according to your own study, what are the two most pressing infrastructure problems the city faces? What is the current staff action plan which addresses each problem, and how is it being paid for? Is the ongoing solution going to be effective? Why or why not? And if not, offer your plan for a different infrastructure solution. Generally, how much it would cost and where the money would come from to pay for it. Amy Camarata.
So infrastructure, I say this frequently, the reason for governance is infrastructure. We pay taxes, we pay sales tax, whatever it is, to the government to support that infrastructure. So no matter what it is in infrastructure, that is the most important role of any commissioner and any city leader, be it city staff or an elected official. Infrastructure, governance, hand in hand. For me, police and fire, I had mentioned in my bio that we did a few weeks ago that I do have several family members, my dad, my brother, my son, that are in law enforcement. It is near and dear to my heart, but it's also an issue that needs to be addressed in the city. I already gave the crime statistics. We know that we have a fire station that has been closed. I found it interesting in Monday's commission meeting. Don't quote me on the dates, but I think they said like in 1970 they had 45 firemen, and today they have 48. And so in 50 years we've grown by 3, but we've more than doubled our population, if not more. So we have to grow those programs. When I spoke with the fire chief, maybe a month ago, he had told me then that they would like to expand north and they would like to have a substation at the Shawnee Twin Lakes. And so there is that need. And I know that the city is working to find solutions for that. I know that that is not an easy answer, whether it be from grants or water fees, or be it partnerships with our existing entities that are here, be it tribal, be it other emergency respond groups, but we need to address that. And I think also addressing jobs brings and increasing the revenue in the home, increase the sales tax. We've got to shore up the revenue situation. And then what I said in the beginning of, we have a lot of experts in the city of Shawnee. We have experts in fire and police and emergency management. And we need to go to those experts and have them help us find the solutions that we need to get to. And then public works, I'm going to lump, so fire and safety, I lumped into one. And then public works, I'm going to lump into one also. That's your streets, your water, your sewer. I wasn't here in the 70s and 80s. I mentioned before I grew up in Iowa. But my understanding is that we had about a 30-year lapse where we really did just kind of the minimum of maintenance. And it's really put us way behind on what is needed for our infrastructure, our underwater water lines, our underwater sewer lines. We recently did the sewer treatment plant. Deferred maintenance, be it a home, be it a business, or be it a city, continues to accumulate. And we saw this happen with the Shawnee Depot as well. When they originally priced, I think it was like under 300,000, and now it's multiple millions. The longer you put something off, the more expensive it gets to repair. And so we need a plan that's going to get us out of this deferred maintenance hole that we are in for public works. And a lot of times, not necessarily for streets and roads, but when it comes to water and sewer, that's self-sustainable. We don't buy our water from Atoka like a lot of cities do. We have a water source here at the Shawnee Twin Lakes, and we charge for that water to the citizens who receive it. And so a lot of the water side of it is usually fairly sustainable. The streets and roads are what's really difficult, but it's also what can be really, really costly to repair.
Yes, and if you don't mind, I want to ask, because you've lived here for decades, I've lived here for nearly half a century, and we always talk about the streets need to be better, our water lines are going under, we need to fix those. But what tends to happen, and now I'm going to go back to the budget, which you guys both are kind of familiar with, is commissioners get in there and they realize we have no money. And so we deal on a recurring budget of about, and this is a rough, but about 40 million a year. Even though we have a budget because of non-recurring revenues up around 100 million currently. But that's $60 million that is needing to be spent on infrastructure mainly, but a lot of things. But it's not money that we can count on into the future. So a lot of the maintenance in our infrastructure was not done because, for whatever reason, 30 years ago, and then for 30 years before that. But now we have the problem that it's going to cost hundreds of millions of dollars just for water lines. And we have the problem with we don't have the recurring revenues to increase police and increase fire, which is another thing that's been talked about for the last 50 years. So it is true that we need these things, but how are we going to pay for them? What's the ideas for actually like digging in and getting the repairs so that we can get to the self-sustaining place for our water lines, and we can sustain more officers and firemen?
So, Daniel, what I have for you isn't a direct answer, but what I'm going to tell you is so prevalent. Just like we have deferred maintenance on the city, we're going to have the same accumulation of expense that's going to occur if we do not address our income shortage. The only thing I would have added to the budget conversation is that comparatively across Oklahoma, we're about 20% below revenue. $100 million sounds like a lot of money, but we're 20% below what other cities of our size are. That 20% comes back to what we talked about earlier with addressing the income levels, the more jobs, the higher paying jobs in the city, and that economic development and bringing in good stabilized jobs and higher home values. If we can address that, it brings in more sales tax dollars as well. So, and even I was glad to hear that they talked just briefly in the city meeting on Monday about expanding the city limits. And I was pleased to hear that the city manager said that that's something they had already talked about within the staff. We have to grow those revenue sources. And then the other thing I would say is about, don't quote me on this, Cami may know, Daniel may know, but our general obligation bonds went away 10 years ago, or roughly 8 to 10 years ago, and we didn't re-up them. So I know that's a sticky subject, and times are tough and people don't like to necessarily pay money. But if a community sees a benefit from existing general obligation bonds, and you go and you say, hey, that general obligation bond is now gone, we want you to vote and approve this general obligation bond. It's not going to cost you any money. This is what we did with the last general obligation bond. Now we're going to do this. Then the people typically vote for it. So we've gone years without a general obligation bond. And, that's a really tough thing to talk about in elections, but it's a reality. Something has to pay for this infrastructure. It's really easy for us to say that we don't like the roads. And it's a lot easier for people to say, let's give the fire and police more money. And I'm pro fire and police. Love you guys. Thank you for your service. But not a lot of people say, well, I don't want to pay more money for the roads, but we want to complain about the roads. But the roads aren't self-sufficient. Nobody's paying turnpike tax to drive down Kickapoo. Right. So there's no money coming in for that. The money has to come from somewhere. And, be that a general obligation bond or some other way, I think there's an opportunity out there, and they're tough questions and they're not easy to do. But we have to start somewhere, and we have to have a plan of how we're going to eventually get out of that deferred maintenance.
Very fair. Thank you for that clarity. We will go to Cami. According to your own study, what are the 2 most pressing infrastructure problems the city faces? What is the current staff action plan which addresses each problem, and how is it being paid for? Is the ongoing solution going to be effective? Why or why not? If not, offer your plan for a different infrastructure solution, generally how much it would cost and where the money to pay for it will come from. Cami Engles.
Okay, when we talk about infrastructure, we're talking about roads, bridges, water lines, physical, tangible items, and how those are used. So to me, the clear areas we need to focus on are getting our water lines, our water and our roads updated, and unfortunately, this isn't just a Shawnee problem, it's a national problem. I think nationally, a lot of the water lines are like 50 years old. And so we're dealing with sort of the same issues as a lot of people across the nation. That's not to say we don't need to do anything about it, because we certainly do. Some of the things that are coming right now have to do with the water treatment, a water treatment plant being updated. We've needed that for 30 years. And also the wastewater treatment plant. Sometimes I get those, I fumble over my words when I'm trying to get that all out. So those are currently in the budget and will be completed. I believe the water treatment plant started in this year, in 2021, and it should be finished by 2023, I believe. So that's going to be very helpful. It is paid for by, I wrote this down just so I could remember, because there's so many different organizations. Oklahoma Waters Resources Fund. It's a state revolving fund. So there are two of those revolving funds. One of them we use, and it is in essence a very low interest rate loan. So those are already built into the budget. So we will see our water treatment plant updated and improved. And then also our wastewater treatment plants will be brought up to code, or not brought up to code, but just new. And those are important, already implemented, and will be paid for through loans that we've already gotten. I'm having problems with words, guys, and it's been a long day, I feel like. But we have also applied for state ARPA money, and we have received some city and county ARPA money. I think we've received something around $8 million. I hate throwing numbers out because sometimes I don't want to get held to it. $8 million in city money that we're using for water and wastewater lines. So we've got the treatment plants, and then we also have the issue of the water lines. Whenever we had the big freeze, we saw all of our lines bursting all over town. Well, it's not just when it freezes. We have about 80 lines burst every year just from normal age of our water lines. So it's imperative that we get our water lines updated. And we're doing some of that with the ARPA money that we received. We also have requested about $10 million in ARPA money to update those water lines. And I have had an opportunity to speak with some of the representatives on those allocation committees for the ARPA money at the state level. Now, the governor still has to pass that stuff, not veto it. And there are so many applicants for that ARPA money that we have no idea if we're going to receive it. But I think that the application looks great, and I would hope that because the ARPA money can only be spent on certain things. I think that Shawnee has a great application in, and I'm hoping that we get some of that money. And the city employees and engineers have already determined where those emergency spots are within our town for the immediate need for the water line repairs, because that money still won't replace all of it. And then as far as the roads go, because that's our other immediate need, our roads are in terrible condition. I think I heard Andrea say at a meeting they have a rating system for roads, which I don't know the name of, but ours were like a 2 or 3 out of 100. So on average, and don't quote me on that specific, but it was a shocking number. Our roads are in terrible disrepair in town, at the lake, everywhere. So we need money for panel replacement, which we do on concrete, and then we do overlay. Trying to think of the word for our pavement or our blacktop. So we also, that money's coming out of a 0.5-cent sales tax that from back in 2018, and we had allocated, I believe, about $3.5 million to tackle those emergent areas of disrepair in the roads. So as far as that stuff goes, I think that the city is, the current plans put in place are to repair the emergent needs, identify those things, and then set aside money within the budget for regular maintaining of our infrastructure, which is the best plan moving forward, I believe. And then I wanted to say one thing because we skipped the budget question, and this is really the only thing I wanted to say about the budget. I think Oklahoma is one of the few states that funds most of the city general fund with sales tax. And so if we cannot increase sales tax, then we're going to have to find an alternate recurring source of income for infrastructure. And that's just what it is. If we have to do that, there are some cities that have already outlined some paths that we could replicate. Tulsa kind of has a situation that might be something we could look at. But anyway, we're going to have to find alternate sources of income, whether that be bonds, tax increase, which nobody wants. So hopefully not that. But anyway, the sales tax being our only source of income for those things besides these one-time federal grants makes it really important that we grow our economy here.
Can I add to that budget response, Daniel?
Not if it's an argument.
No, it's not an argument. I'm going to add to it.
I'm
going to add to it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I muted myself for a moment. Yeah, Amy, sure. And I might come back to Cami. I had a follow-up. Go ahead, Amy.
Oh, that's okay. And I don't know if this is possible or not, because I agree. Every city in Oklahoma says this is our struggle. Oklahoma cities only operate off of sales tax. That's why you hear frequently shop local or shop from home, because that's the use tax. Every city in Oklahoma has this. Well, the city of Shawnee has on contract a lobbyist group that works with multiple cities. I don't know that this is a solution, but I would really be interested to see if some of these lobbyist groups, because it would take an action from the state government to open up additional financial resources to the cities. But I would like to explore the option of that lobbyist group approaching and lobbying some of our state representatives to have changes to where there could potentially in the future sometime, it wouldn't happen overnight, but to begin those conversations so that we are not one of only 2 states in the nation that are still operating with cities only operating off of sales tax revenue. So I'm glad she brought that up. That would have been one of my comments as well.
All right. Thank you very much. And I'm gonna go on for the sake of time, unless Cami, you had something to add to that.
Oh no, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Outside the infrastructure realm, please discuss for us what you feel is the most pressing challenge our community faces in which you have a proposed plan for a solution. Please back up your solution plan with verifiable facts, which you feel support the plan may be carried out to a full solution. And that is going to go to Cami Engles first.
That is such a difficult thing to put into one question, Daniel. Thank you for that. I have so many ideas. So I'm trying to boil this down to maybe one concept. I think our greatest was the question the greatest challenge?
Yes.
Okay.
Outside of infrastructure.
Yeah, I think that our greatest challenge, and I don't want to offend anyone because I love this city so much. I think our greatest challenge is making ourselves competitive in attracting residents and maintaining residents, making our city more competitive when we are compared to other communities of our size, when we're compared to communities within driving distance. So to me, that means making our city a place where people want to live, work, play, and raise their families. We can't we can't really do anything about the schools from the city, from our seat. That's kind of another issue. But we can do things to attract businesses, improve the quality of life, because I've been part of quite a few conversations where Shawnee has been, not the city itself, like the city entity, like the commissioners or whatever, but Shawnee as a community has been involved in maybe a bid to get a new company. There's multiple examples that I wouldn't name specifically just because of respecting those deals. There's multiple examples of companies thinking about moving to Shawnee, and we get so close. We offer them sales tax incentives. We offer them, here, we'll fix up all of these spots for you. Here are these wonderful things. We roll out the red carpet, and then they don't choose us. And they don't choose us, and they go to a city kind of our size, and they go to a city in Texas or somewhere that's really comparable. Then when we go back and we say, why did you not choose us? They say, oh, we really wanted to, but they couldn't convince the executives to move here, or the executives' wives to move here, or whenever the hospital is trying to recruit new physicians and specialists, they can't get those high-income earners to move to our town because we don't have some of the quality of life items that they are used to and they want, because those people can live wherever they want. And we want people of all income levels living here, obviously. But the improvement to quality life things are things that every resident can enjoy. So whether that means bringing in unique businesses, revitalizing downtown, for example, that's why my business even exists, is to be a flagship to show what could be done. And when I moved here, I didn't really want to live here, to be honest with you, because I didn't see, and the only reason is because I didn't see those key things that made me want to live in a space, whether it was cool, unique restaurants and places to go out. The other big key component for me, and why I want to represent Ward 2, is the outdoor recreational component. And I think Shawnee is making strides in that area, but we have these amazing Shawnee Twin Lakes. And I came from Sulphur, where we partnered with the town, and the Chickasaw Nation partnered to make the park so beautiful and the lakes so beautiful, and everyone's respectful of the environment there, and they're able to work with the recreational elements and allow people those outdoor places to play, improving the quality of life further in that way. So adding some quality of life improvements like nice trails and improving the public parks and beaches out at the lake, so that people have some nicer places to hang out, making the bathrooms nicer, all of those things. But overall, I'm kind of rambling now. Overall, the concept to me is making us more attractive, looking at why aren't people moving here? What do those other cities have? And we actually have the real data now from those people that are passing us up. Why are they not moving here? What are the elements that we could start focusing on to improve, to make Shawnee the place that someone wants to raise a family, or some OBU student wants to stay after they graduate? So that's my biggest challenge, I believe, is making, improving our quality of life, economic development, all those things roll into making Shawnee a competitive city.
Okay, thank you very much. Amy, Camarata. Whoops. Outside the infrastructure realm, please discuss for us what you feel is the most pressing challenge our community faces, in which you have a proposed plan for a solution. Please back up your solution plan with verifiable facts which you feel support the plan may be carried out to full solution. Amy?
So it's interesting, because I think in a lot of ways that Cami and I really do have a lot in common. you know, we, first off, Daniel, this is a very complex question for one answer in 60 seconds. Go. I was given a list of, I think it was like 87 prioritized lists that a prior commissioner had 10, 12 years ago, that the commission together had collaborated, and these were the items they were going to tackle. And here we are 10, 12 years later, and like 10 of these things got done. Cami has a million great ideas for the city. I have a million great ideas for the city. You have a million great ideas for the city. It's election time, but we can't do it all, right? We can't solve every problem in a 2-year or 4-year term. Or not problem, but challenge. I'll use your word, challenge.
Yeah.
I agree with Cami that people are choosing to recreate outside of Shawnee and recreating. And in fact, that's my degree. I majored in play. Leisure services was the title. But people are choosing to go and do their entertainment outside the city. Outside of the city of Shawnee. They go to Oklahoma City. They go to Stillwater. They go to Dallas. What draws people to recreate within the town of Shawnee? Those students, are they recreating in the town of Shawnee, or are they going in to Oklahoma City, to Bricktown, to wherever? I had recently heard my kids, because only somebody young would foolishly jump out of a perfectly good plane, used to go to Shawnee to do the skydiving, and I recently learned that they're no longer at the airport. But we don't have great recreational opportunities inside Shawnee. And it's not to say that absolutely the lakes is a great recreational opportunity. And while the lakes is part of Shawnee, we really need those within the city limits of Shawnee as well, be it outside or be it inside. Wouldn't it be great if we got a Top Golf in Shawnee? My husband would be there all the time. I probably wouldn't be able to live at the lake. He'd have to live right next door to it. So, whatever. And I'm just using that as an example, but finding solutions where people want to stay and play in Shawnee is a challenge, and it's an opportunity for economic development. And we need to pursue those businesses just like we're pursuing businesses in the downtown area.
Very good. Thank you. And that takes us right into opportunities. And because of time, and I feel you both have mentioned opportunities in the challenges, which I love, by the way, because I think every challenge is an opportunity. Please discuss for us what you feel is the best opportunity for our community in which you have a proposed plan to bring to fruition. Please back up your individual plan with verifiable facts which you feel support the plan may be carried out to its full achievement. So we're just going to do one rather than two. And Amy Camarata, go first.
I think the greatest opportunity that Shawnee has is capitalizing on the partnerships that are available already within the city. We have many, many experts. If we have a problem downtown, let's go to the experts. Let's go to the Shawnee downtown businesses who are experts in that area. If we have a problem with a historical building, let's go to the expert in historical buildings. If we have a problem with the fire department, let's go to the experts in emergency services. If we have a problem with not keeping the students within there, let's go to those educational places. Let's go to those students. Let's build bridges so that we can keep those people in town and grow in our businesses and grow in our population, bring in more jobs. I mean, I think it all goes hand in hand, but we really need to focus on those partnerships with the existing opportunities that are already within our city limits.
Thank you very much, Amy. And Cami, I go to you. Rather than two great opportunities, let's talk about one and a proposed plan to bring it to fruition. Cami Engles.
My answer is actually going to be similar because this is sort of how I operate in general. trying to build mutually beneficial relationships to solve complex problems. Um, I believe that we are in an amazing position with certain tribes, like CPN, for example, in our agreement to move forward with them. Although all of the plans and procedures aren't outlined, note by note, we are moving forward in good faith with some of in improving some relationships that have been contingent for a while. Um, and coming from a community where the tribe and the city work so seamlessly together, I see what that provides the citizens of every income level. So I'm really excited about the opportunity to facilitate some partnerships and conversations with our tribes. Also, I'm excited about the new leadership at OBU. I think Dr. Thomas and his wife have shown a lot of interest in OBU not being an island, but being a part of the community in an integral way. And he's taken great steps to do that, trying to get the students involved and for us to be kind of a web of opportunity. And I'm noticing that throughout the city in different ways. It feels really good. The energy is really
I think we lost.
I was going to say, did we lose Cami or me? I'm not sure which one. There she is.
oh, I'm
Jer-
sorry, I don't know if my internet's. I was saying, I don't know what you heard at the last.
So
I'm
we were
excited about the vibe that the energy that we have right now, because we have a collaborative energy going, and there's some real evidence of that. So there's when we talk about a plan, there's no way that I'm on in this forum going to say we should do these specific things with CPN and OBU and this or that, because those would be the plan. I guess there would be to start facilitating those conversations where we can build mutually beneficial relationships, though, so that we can grow the community together, moving forward in a way that we can and share in each other's and plans, and bring more voices to the table so that we have a better representation of all of our citizens when we make decisions for our community. So that would be my hope.
That's very good. Thank you. And to both of you, thank you very much. First of all, it takes a really big person to step into the realm that you both have willingly stepped into, and I personally want to say thank you. I'm very impressed with both of you, and that's heartfelt. Thank you. Now, through this forum, there's sometimes things said that you want to question. And at the end, I want to give you, before closing remarks, any opportunity if there is something you would like to question about an answer that someone else gave. Does that pressing need exist for either one of you?
No.
No.
Okay, thank you very much again. And now we're going to go to closing remarks. And I believe Cami Engles will give closing remarks first.
I would like to thank you both for allowing me to be part of this forum and it being so pleasant, because this can be very nerve-wracking to do this. It does take a special kind of fool to sign up for things like this. I would just like to say that since I was appointed, I have learned so much, and I have so much more to learn as a commissioner. I don't feel like my time is up. I'm really just kind of coming into my own, and I want the opportunity to continue to serve. I'm really excited about the opportunities that are presenting themselves in our community, and I want to be able to represent the city in a real way, really get in the arena and fight for us and the improvement of our community. I think with me, what you see is what you get, because I really put my money where my mouth is. I said that earlier, but I think sometimes the best prediction of future action is past behavior. So you can see I've been in the ring, I've been investing in the community, I am involved in multiple arenas, and this was way before being a commissioner was ever a thought in my mind. I have no political aspirations whatsoever. I do those things because I really, truly, with all of my heart, want to make my community better. And I want to, instead of being a person that complains, I want to be the change that I want to see. And I'm hoping that I will be able to do that, and continue to be the commissioner who is able to really get some of those agenda items completed, because I feel like I've just begun, and I would love the opportunity to continue to serve for another few years. Thank you.
Thank you, Cami Engles. Amy Camarata, you're up.
Yeah, also would like to thank you, Daniel, for the opportunity and some really, really tough questions that were a bit intimidating to come on and discuss. As I mentioned earlier, I may not have all of the answers, and I may not have all the knowledge and history that a lot of our residents have. But what I do have, and anybody who knows me or has even seen me, my Italian heritage comes out, and I'm passionate about things, and I talk with my hands. And I am dedicated to bridging gaps with our community, bringing in more citizen involvement, focusing on our infrastructure, focusing on economic development and growth, median incomes and higher paying jobs, and additional revenue and growth for the city, which is what we need very badly. Every citizen has an opportunity to make a difference. I believe that if you see something that needs changed, it starts with you. Change starts with you. And that's why I am here today to run. Shawnee is unique in the fact that every single citizen gets to vote across every single ward. So not only if you go out and vote, are you making a difference in your ward, but in every ward you have an impact. And so we can each be a steward of change by voting on June 28th. But win or lose, Cami, I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you both. And I think that you both represented yourselves very well. Again, thank you for your time. And to all in the community, your vote matters and your non-vote matters as well. Either you're going to be a part of what's happening within the community by getting out and vote and letting your voice be heard, or somebody else is going to speak for you. We want to see a 20%, yes, that's very low, but a 20% activity at the voting polls this June 28th. That's our goal. So everybody get out and vote. There's going to be a lot of tough choices, just like we saw today. There are videos for every candidate who is willing to be with us, and that is 8 of the 9 on the website, on Facebook, on YouTube. If you'd like to get to know your candidates, the information is out there for you. Again, thank you to Cami Engles and Amy Camarata, the candidates for Ward 2. Ladies, I hope you have a wonderful day. And Shawnee, together we build community, one season at a time. Good afternoon, everybody.
Thank you, Dan.